Manhattan didn't sleep, and neither did the Harrington name. Victor Harrington was a white American billionaire whose face never appeared on magazine covers unless the headline was about someone else losing. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need to threaten. His silence could end careers. He built Harrington Capital from nothing, then turned it into a machine that bought skyscrapers like groceries. In boardrooms, grown men nodded before he finished sentences. In courtrooms, judges listened twice. But at home, in the glass-walled penthouse above the city, Victor Harrington had a problem money couldn't solve. His daughter. Madeline Harrington was 17, white American, sharp cheekbones, platinum blonde hair always pulled back like she was preparing for war, eyes the cold gray of storm clouds over the Atlantic. She wore designer clothes like armor. Her voice didn't rise much, but when it did, it could cut. She wasn't loud in the childish way. She was loud in the dangerous way. The kind that made adults forget what they were saying. The kind that made people quit. A private tutor lasted 5 days before leaving in tears. A chauffeur resigned after Madeline threw his keys into the Hudson River because he parked too slowly. A therapist sent one final email to Victor's assistant that simply said, "This is above my pay grade." Victor had tried discipline. Then he tried indulgence. Then he tried distance. Nothing worked. And because she was Victor Harrington's daughter, no one dared to correct her. The entire world treated her like a lit match they couldn't afford to drop. That was how Madeline learned a terrible lesson early. If you push hard enough, everyone moves. Victor stood near the penthouse windows one morning, overlooking the city as if it were a spreadsheet. His assistant, a white American man named Grant Lowell, waited behind him with a tablet. "Your schedule," Grant began cautiously. "Board meeting at 10. Call with London at noon. The charity gala tonight at the Harrington Grand." Victor didn't turn. "And Madeline?" Grant's throat tightened. "She refused her morning lessons again. She said she'll attend the gala, but only if you don't embarrass her by assigning security too close." Victor's jaw flexed once. That was all. "Let her come," Victor said. Grant blinked. "Sir, last time I said let her come." Grant lowered his eyes. "Yes, sir." Victor watched the city, but his mind wasn't on the buildings. It was on the cracks forming in his own home. He could buy loyalty. He could buy silence. He could buy fear. But he couldn't buy peace. That evening, the Harrington Grand Hotel glowed like something carved out of gold. The charity gala was invitation only, the kind where the cheapest watch in the room could pay for someone's college tuition. Cameras waited outside the entrance, hungry for a shot of Victor Harrington's face. Not because people loved him, because they feared him. Inside, the ballroom shimmered with chandeliers and polished marble. A string quartet played a soft, elegant melody that sounded like money. Servers moved through the crowd with trays of champagne, trained to smile without ever looking rushed. Everything was perfect. Until Madeline arrived. She didn't walk in like a guest. She walked in like an event. Her dress was black and sleek, expensive without being flashy. Her heels clicked against the marble like a countdown. People turned before they even knew why, instincts reacting to danger dressed as beauty. Madeline's eyes scanned the room, bored, unimpressed, already irritated by the fact that air existed. Victor stood across the ballroom near the stage, speaking calmly with a senator and 2 CEOs. He saw her. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture tightened, like a man bracing for impact. Madeline crossed the room and stopped beside him. "Wow," she murmured. "It smells like old money and lies." The senator's wife laughed too loudly, unsure if it was a joke. Victor's voice stayed even. "Madeline." She smiled, thin. "Relax, Dad. I'm here. Like you wanted." Victor's eyes flicked to Grant in the distance, and Grant immediately signaled the hotel head of security. Not too close. Not obvious. Just ready. Madeline noticed anyway. She always noticed. "Do you really think someone's going to try something?" she asked. "Or are you afraid I'll embarrass you?" Victor's smile was polite. "Enjoy the evening." Madeline's lips curled. "I will." And she did, by tearing the room apart without lifting a finger. She drifted through the gala like a storm cloud wearing perfume. At the auction table, she picked up a diamond bracelet meant to raise funds for children's hospitals. "How much is this?" she asked the volunteer, a middle-aged white American woman in a simple navy dress. The woman smiled nervously. "Starting bid is 20,000. Madeline tilted the bracelet under the light. "For that?" The woman's smile faltered. It's certified, and all proceeds go to." Madeline placed it down like it disgusted her. "It looks like something you'd buy to feel rich." The woman's cheeks turned red. "Excuse me." Madeline's eyes stayed calm. "I'm excused." She walked away, leaving the woman frozen and humiliated. Across the room, a young tech founder tried to impress her with a laugh and a compliment. Madeline listened for 3 seconds, then said, "You talk like your confidence is rented." He blinked like he'd been slapped. Laughter rippled awkwardly around them, people unsure whether to laugh or pretend they didn't hear. Madeline kept moving. A waiter carrying champagne approached her carefully. "Would you like a glass, miss?" Madeline looked at the tray, then at him, then at the guests watching. She took a glass. The waiter relaxed, until she tipped it casually, letting champagne spill across the front of his vest. Gasps. Silence. The waiter stiffened, shock flashing across his face. Madeline's voice was mild. "Oops." The waiter whispered, "Miss." Madeline leaned in just enough for him to smell her expensive perfume. "Clean it up," she said softly, "before someone important sees you." The waiter's hands trembled. The room didn't move. No one stepped in. Because no one wanted Victor Harrington as an enemy. Victor watched from a distance, eyes dark, face controlled. Grant moved beside him. "Sir, I can remove her." Victor didn't blink. "If you grab her, she'll make it worse. She wants a scene." Grant swallowed. "Then what do we do?" Victor's voice dropped. "We wait." And waiting was what everyone did, until the wrong person stopped waiting. In the back corridor near the service entrance, a catering supervisor whispered, "Keep your head down. Don't look at her. Don't speak unless spoken to." A young woman adjusted her plain uniform and nodded. Her name was Evelyn Carter, white American, late 20s, dark brown hair pulled into a clean bun, no jewelry, no drama. She worked 2 jobs and sent money to her younger brother's college fund. She wasn't anyone important. She was just steady. Evelyn stepped into the ballroom with a tray of fresh glasses, eyes scanning the floor, not for gossip, not for status, but for safety. She noticed everything, a spilled drink hazard, a guest stumbling, a server about to bump into a table. And then she noticed the waiter standing stiff and drenched in champagne, face tight with humiliation, while Madeline Harrington smiled like she'd just won something. Evelyn paused. She watched people pretend not to see. She watched men in $10,000 suits stare at the floor. She watched women clutch their purses like courage was something you could lose. Then she did the one thing nobody did. She walked forward. Not quickly. Not aggressively. Just directly. Madeline's eyes flicked to her. "Who are you?" Evelyn set her tray down on a nearby table with calm precision. "I'm Evelyn," she said evenly. And that was unnecessary. A shockwave rolled through the guests. Madeline blinked, like she couldn't process what she'd heard. "What did you just say?" Evelyn didn't raise her voice. "You don't have to humiliate people to prove you matter." The ballroom went dead silent. Even the string quartet stumbled to a stop, bows hanging midair. Victor Harrington's head lifted sharply across the room. Grant whispered, horrified, "Oh my God!" Madeline stepped closer, voice low. "Do you know who I am?" Evelyn met her eyes. "Yes." Madeline's smile sharpened. "Then you're either very brave, or very stupid." Evelyn's tone stayed calm, almost gentle. "Or maybe I'm just tired of watching everyone act like fear is the same thing as respect." Madeline stared at her. Something in her expression flickered, anger, surprise, and something else she didn't want anyone to see. Victor began walking toward them. Slowly. Not rushing. But the entire room felt him coming like thunder. Madeline turned her head slightly, sensing her father approaching, then looked back at Evelyn with a dangerous softness. "You just made a mistake," she whispered. Evelyn didn't move. "Maybe," she said. "But it won't be his mistake." Victor arrived, stopping beside Madeline. His presence sucked the oxygen from the air. He looked at Evelyn for a long second. Then he looked at his daughter. "Madeline," Victor said quietly. Madeline's jaw clenched. "She disrespected me." Victor's eyes didn't soften. "No." Madeline's gaze snapped to him. "What?" Victor's voice stayed controlled, but heavier now. "She told you the truth." Madeline froze. Evelyn's pulse hammered, but her face remained steady. The guests held their breath. And for the first time in years, Madeline Harrington didn't have control of the room. She had control of nothing. Victor turned slightly, eyes still on Madeline, and said the words that stunned everyone. "Come with me." "No." Madeline's lips parted in disbelief. And Evelyn realized, right then, that she hadn't just spoken to a spoiled billionaire's daughter. She had touched the one nerve Victor Harrington couldn't protect. His shame. As Victor led Madeline away, Madeline twisted back toward Evelyn, eyes burning. "This isn't over," she mouthed. Evelyn watched them disappear through the side doors. The string quartet slowly resumed playing, shaky and uncertain. The gala tried to breathe again. But something had changed. Because somewhere behind those doors, a billionaire was finally done pretending. And a girl who had never been told no was about to hear it in a way that would break her, or remake her. The private corridor behind the ballroom was silent except for Madeline Harrington's heels. Victor didn't raise his voice. He didn't grab her arm. He didn't rush. That scared her more than shouting ever could. They stopped inside a glass-walled conference room overlooking the city. The lights inside were dim, the skyline outside blazing like a reminder of everything Victor owned, and everything he was losing control of. Victor closed the door. Madeline turned first. "You humiliated me." Victor didn't sit. He loosened his cufflinks slowly, deliberately. "You humiliated yourself," he said. Madeline laughed sharply. "By standing there while a nobody talked to me like trash?" Victor finally looked at her fully. His eyes weren't angry. They were disappointed. "That nobody," he said evenly, "said something no one else in this room has had the courage to say to you in years." Madeline's jaw tightened. "You took her side." Victor stepped closer, his presence heavy but calm. "I took the truth's side." Madeline's voice rose. "You don't get it. Everyone here is fake. They smile because they're scared." She crossed a line. Victor nodded once. "Yes, she did." Madeline's eyes flashed with triumph. "And she didn't do it because she forgot who you are," Victor continued. "She did it because she didn't care." Silence hit harder than any slap. Madeline swallowed. "So what? You're going to fire her? Sue her? Make an example?" Victor studied his daughter, the sharp edges, the armor, the anger she wore like survival gear. "No," he said quietly. "I'm going to thank her." Madeline stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You're joking." Victor shook his head. "And tomorrow, I want you to apologize to the waiter." Madeline laughed again, louder this time. "Absolutely not." Victor's voice hardened just enough to make the room feel smaller. "You will." Madeline stepped back. "Or what?" Victor didn't hesitate. "Or I start taking things away." That finally landed. Madeline's smile faded. "You wouldn't." Victor met her eyes. "Try me." For the first time in her life, Madeline Harrington felt something unfamiliar crawl up her spine. Fear. Across the hotel, Evelyn Carter sat alone in the staff break room, hands wrapped around a paper cup of water she hadn't touched. Her heart was still pounding. A senior supervisor burst in. "What were you thinking?" Evelyn looked up calmly. "I was thinking someone needed to say it. You spoke to Victor Harrington's daughter like she was a child." "She was acting like one." The supervisor groaned. "You don't talk to people like that here. Especially not her. You could have gotten us all fired." Evelyn set the cup down. "If I get fired, that's fine. But I'm not apologizing." The supervisor stared at her. "You're serious?" Evelyn nodded. "Completely." The supervisor rubbed his temples. "Security's asking for your name." Evelyn stood. "Then I'll give it to them." Madeline didn't sleep that night. She paced her bedroom like a caged animal, replaying the moment over and over. The woman's calm voice. The way the room had listened. The way her father hadn't defended her. No one ever chose someone else over Madeline Harrington. Except tonight. By morning, anger hardened into something sharper. Resolve. She stormed into the kitchen where Victor sat reading financial reports like nothing had happened. "You think you won," Madeline said coldly. Victor didn't look up. "I think you learned something." Madeline leaned on the counter. "She embarrassed me. I want her gone." Victor finally lifted his eyes. "She works for the hotel. Not for you." Madeline's lips pressed thin. "I can make one call." Victor's voice dropped. "And I can make 10 that undo it." Madeline straightened. "So that's it. She just walks away." Victor closed the folder. "No." Madeline smiled darkly. "Good. She walks forward," Victor said. "With my protection." Madeline's smile vanished. "You're not serious." Victor stood. "I'm very serious." Madeline felt heat rise in her chest. "You're choosing her." Victor stepped closer. "I'm choosing your future. Whether you like it or not." Madeline's voice trembled with fury. "Then I'll make sure she regrets opening her mouth." Victor's eyes hardened. "You will not touch her." Madeline's laugh was hollow. "You can't control everything." Victor watched his daughter walk out. And for the first time, he wondered if the monster everyone feared wasn't his reputation, but the thing he'd allowed to grow in his own home. Evelyn was called into a private office later that afternoon. She expected termination paperwork. Instead, she found Victor Harrington standing by the window. The door closed behind her. Evelyn straightened. "Mr. Harrington." Victor turned. "Ms. Carter." She met his gaze steadily. "If I crossed a line last night." "You crossed the right one," Victor said. Evelyn blinked. "I owe you an apology," Victor continued. "Not for what you said. For allowing it to need saying." Evelyn chose her words carefully. "Your daughter is hurting." Victor nodded once. "I know. And she's dangerous," Evelyn added quietly. "Not because she's cruel, but because she's alone." Victor looked back out at the city. "Everyone leaves." Evelyn shook her head. "No. Everyone avoids. There's a difference." Victor studied her now like he would a high-risk investment. "Would you be willing," he asked slowly, "to spend time with her?" Evelyn stiffened. "I'm not qualified." Victor's mouth curved faintly. "Neither are the people who failed." Evelyn hesitated. "She hates me." Victor said simply, "Good." Evelyn frowned. "Good." "Hatred means she felt something real," Victor replied. "That's a start." After a long pause, Evelyn nodded. "I'll try." Victor extended his hand, not as a billionaire, but as a father. Evelyn shook it. Neither of them noticed the quiet figure watching from the hallway. Madeline. Her eyes locked onto Evelyn's hand in her father's. Her jaw tightened. If they thought this was over, they were wrong. That night, Madeline made her move. The next morning, a rumor spread through the hotel staff. A story about Evelyn Carter being disrespectful. About her crossing boundaries. About her trying to make herself important. By noon, someone had leaked a cropped video of the confrontation, edited, distorted, stripped of context. Online comments exploded. Who does she think she is? Another clout chaser. Fire her. Evelyn's phone buzzed non-stop. Her supervisor looked pale. We're getting calls. Evelyn read the messages quietly. She looked up. This was intentional. Victor saw the backlash within minutes. And so did Madeline, smiling as she watched the chaos she'd created. Let's see how brave you are now, she whispered. But Madeline had underestimated one thing. Evelyn Carter didn't need the crowd. She just needed the truth. And Victor Harrington was finally ready to stop protecting lies. The headlines didn't use Evelyn Carter's name at first. They used words like staff member, hotel worker, anonymous employee, as if keeping her faceless made the story easier to tear apart. By morning, her name was everywhere. Disrespectful worker confronts billionaire's daughter. Who does she think she is? Entitlement or courage? Evelyn sat at her small kitchen table, phone buzzing non-stop beside her untouched coffee. Her brother called 3 times. Her landlord once. A number she didn't recognize left a voicemail that simply said, "You should have kept your mouth shut." She turned the phone face down. Fear was loud, but guilt was louder. She thought of the waiter's face that night, how humiliation had drained the color from him while everyone else looked away. She would do it again. Even now. Victor Harrington stood in his private office, watching the same video play on mute across 6 screens. The edit was brutal. It cut out the spilled champagne. It cut out Madeline's smirk. It cut out the waiter shaking. All it showed was Evelyn speaking, out of context, stripped of reason. Grant hovered behind him. "We can shut this down." Victor raised a hand. "No." Grant hesitated. "Sir, public opinion." Victor's voice was calm but lethal. "Public opinion didn't raise my daughter. I did. And I failed." Grant swallowed. Victor turned off the screens. "Bring Madeline." Madeline entered the office with confidence she didn't fully feel. She wore a tailored blazer and sunglasses indoors, armor back in place. Victor didn't offer her a seat. "You orchestrated this," he said. Madeline tilted her head. "I don't know what you mean." Victor stepped closer. "The edit. The leak. The timing." Madeline removed her sunglasses slowly. "You told me not to touch her." Victor's eyes darkened. "You did." Madeline shrugged. "I touched the truth. People hate being lectured by nobodies." Victor slammed his palm onto the desk. The sound cracked the room open. Madeline flinched, just once. "You weaponized a lie," Victor said quietly. "And you enjoyed it." Madeline crossed her arms. "She humiliated me." Victor shook his head. "No. She exposed you." Madeline's voice sharpened. "You think I'm the villain?" Victor's answer came without hesitation. "Right now, yes." Silence stretched. Madeline laughed, but it broke halfway. "You don't get to judge me. You were never there." That stopped him. Madeline stepped forward, words spilling now. "You missed birthdays, graduations, every moment that mattered. You left me with people who were paid to tolerate me." Victor's chest tightened. "I built everything for you," he said. Madeline's eyes burned. "You built everything except a father." The room felt smaller. Victor exhaled slowly. "This isn't about Evelyn." Madeline's voice cracked. "It is. She looks at me like she sees something broken." Victor said softly, "Because you are." Madeline turned away, fists clenched. "You don't know what it's like," she whispered, "to be alone in a mansion full of strangers." Victor closed his eyes. Because now, he did. Evelyn returned to work despite the backlash. Not because she wasn't scared, but because hiding would mean Madeline won. The staff avoided her now. Not out of anger, out of fear. Fear was contagious. At lunch, Evelyn sat alone. That was when Madeline appeared. No entourage. No guards. No smile. She slid into the chair across from her. "You're brave," Madeline said quietly. Evelyn didn't look up. Or stupid. Madeline studied her. Do you feel good now? Watching everyone turn on you. Evelyn met her gaze. I didn't start this. Madeline leaned closer. You should have stayed in your lane. Evelyn's voice was steady. Your lane runs over people. Madeline's jaw tightened. You think you know me? I don't, Evelyn replied. But I see patterns. Madeline's laugh was bitter. Then tell me, what pattern do you see? Evelyn hesitated. A girl who learned early that attention, even bad attention, is better than being invisible. Madeline froze. Evelyn continued softly. A girl who pushes people away before they can leave. Madeline stood abruptly. You don't get to psychoanalyze me. Evelyn stood too. You don't get to destroy people because you're hurting. Madeline's eyes glistened, just for a second. Then the mask slammed back into place. This isn't over, she said. Evelyn nodded. I know. That night, Madeline did something she hadn't done in years. She went to her mother's room. The room Victor never entered. The lights were off. The curtains closed. The air untouched. Madeline sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the framed photo on the nightstand. Her mother. Smiling. Alive. She sees me, Madeline whispered into the empty room. And I hate her for it. Her throat tightened. For years, Madeline had learned one rule. If you don't feel, you don't hurt. Evelyn had cracked that rule open. The next day, everything went wrong. Madeline skipped school. Skipped therapy. Skipped calls. By evening, Victor couldn't reach her. Security footage showed her leaving alone. Grant's voice trembled. Her phone's off. Victor felt ice crawl up his spine. Madeline wasn't running away. She was spiraling. Evelyn was closing her apartment door when her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Carter, Victor said. I need your help. Evelyn's heart dropped. What happened? She's gone, Victor said. And I think she's going somewhere she shouldn't. Evelyn didn't hesitate. Where would she go? Victor swallowed. Somewhere she used to go with her mother. Evelyn grabbed her coat. They found Madeline on the edge of the city, at an unfinished building overlooking the river. The wind whipped her hair around her face as she stood too close to the edge. Victor approached slowly. Madeline. She didn't turn. If I fall, you'll finally stop working. Victor's voice broke. Don't. Madeline laughed weakly. See? Now you care. Evelyn stepped forward. Madeline, she said softly. Madeline turned, tears streaking her face. I didn't ask you to come. Evelyn nodded. I know. I came anyway. Madeline's voice shook. I don't know how to stop being this person. Evelyn took another step. Then don't stop. Just don't jump. Madeline collapsed to her knees. Victor rushed forward, but Evelyn held up a hand. Let her fall here, Evelyn said. Not there. Madeline sobbed openly now. I'm tired. Evelyn knelt beside her. So am I. But tired people still deserve help. Madeline looked at her through tears. Why didn't you leave? Evelyn answered honestly. Because someone should have stayed. Madeline broke. And Victor Harrington finally understood. This wasn't about control. It never was. It was about connection. The city was quiet in a way it never was. Not peaceful, just holding its breath. Madeline Harrington sat on the cold concrete floor of the unfinished building, knees pulled to her chest, tears drying in the wind. Her expensive jacket lay forgotten beside her. For once, she looked exactly her age. Small. Lost. Human. Victor stood a few steps away, frozen, not by fear of losing control, but by the realization that he already had. Evelyn remained beside Madeline, close enough to matter, far enough not to trap her. No one spoke for a long moment. Then Victor broke. I didn't know how to stop, he said quietly. I kept thinking if I built enough, bought enough, secured enough, you'd be safe. Madeline laughed weakly. Safe from what? Victor swallowed. From feeling what I feel now. Madeline looked at him, really looked at him. I didn't need safety, she whispered. I needed you. The words hit Victor harder than any headline ever had. He stepped closer, voice shaking. I'm here now. Madeline wiped her face with her sleeve. I don't know how to trust that. Victor nodded. Then don't. Not yet. He sat down on the concrete floor in his tailored suit, ignoring the dirt. I'll earn it, he said. Madeline stared at him, stunned. Evelyn watched quietly. This wasn't her moment anymore. But it was the moment she'd made possible. The media never got the full story. They never mentioned the river. They never mentioned the building. They never mentioned the girl on the edge. Victor Harrington made sure of that. What they did see was change. The video disappeared, not buried, but corrected. The full footage was released, unedited. The waiter was publicly apologized to. The gala's charity donation tripled overnight. Victor didn't issue a statement. He issued accountability. And people noticed. Madeline didn't return to school immediately. She didn't suddenly become kind or soft or obedient. Healing didn't work like that. But she stopped attacking. Stopped humiliating. Stopped hiding behind cruelty. She started therapy again, this time by choice. She started volunteering at the hotel, not in public, not for cameras, but quietly, alongside people who didn't care who her father was. And every morning, Evelyn Carter showed up. Not as staff anymore. Victor had offered her money, power, a title. She turned them all down. I'll stay, she said, but only if I'm not owned. Victor respected that. He hired her as a private mentor, not to control Madeline, but to walk beside her. For the first time, Madeline didn't feel managed. She felt accompanied. One evening, weeks later, Madeline and Evelyn sat on the hotel rooftop watching the city glow. Madeline broke the silence. You know I hated you. Evelyn smiled faintly. I noticed. You made me feel exposed, Madeline said. Like I couldn't hide. Evelyn nodded. That's usually when people get angry. Madeline stared at the skyline. Why didn't you walk away when everyone turned on you? Evelyn answered simply. Because I wasn't doing it for them. Madeline looked at her. Then why? Evelyn met her eyes. Because no one deserves to be abandoned at their worst. Madeline exhaled slowly. That night, she slept without nightmares for the first time in years. Victor watched his daughter change, not dramatically, not magically, but honestly. And it terrified him. Because for the first time, he couldn't buy the outcome. He had to trust it. One afternoon, Victor stood in his office as Evelyn prepared to leave. You changed my daughter's life, he said. Evelyn shook her head. She did that herself. Victor hesitated. I built an empire by controlling variables. Evelyn smiled gently. People aren't variables. Victor nodded. That was my most expensive mistake. He extended his hand. Evelyn shook it. Not as staff. Not as an employee. As an equal. Months later, at another charity event, smaller, quieter, Madeline stood at the microphone. No script. No rehearsal. Just honesty. I used to think power meant no one could hurt me, she said, voice steady. I was wrong. Power is letting someone see you when you're broken. She glanced at Evelyn in the crowd. And sometimes, Madeline continued, the person who saves you doesn't look important at all. The room was silent. Victor watched with tears he didn't bother hiding. That night, Evelyn packed her bag. She had been offered a new opportunity in another city, something she'd earned long before Harrington ever knew her name. Madeline stood in the doorway. So, this is goodbye, she asked. Evelyn smiled. No. This is you standing on your own. Madeline swallowed. I don't want to lose you. Evelyn stepped forward and hugged her. You didn't find me. You found yourself. Madeline hugged back. Tight, genuine. Victor watched from the hallway. And for the first time in his life, he felt rich in a way money couldn't explain. The billionaire controlled the world. But it took an ordinary woman to teach his daughter how to live.